Hi, my name is Tracy and I have these tomato plants which I started in a cup a month and a half ago, and all I did was just put some soil in here, put some seeds, and now it is time to separate these into individual plants. So I'll be showing you how to do that in a variety of containers that I have here today, most of them recycled. This is also a tomato plant that has just now sprouted right here, and this is one way to do it. One seed, one container. But how I do it, because I'm growing lots of these because I wanted to start them inside. I wanted to have them in the heat of my house versus outside. And I have limited grow lights. I just have one little grow light set up. I wanted to be able to have a whole bunch of tomatoes in one spot. Now, I'm in Central Texas Zone 8B. We have a really early last frost. I get to plant outside very early here, but we also have lots of wind, we have lots of pests, we have lots of heat. Anything above 95 makes tomatoes stop really setting fruit, and if you've been to Texas ever, you know that we get to 95 around May, maybe June. So really, ideally, we have fruit set on the plants by May and we're harvesting by June, and then the plants kind of rest between July and August, and then we get a second wave of tomatoes come the fall, September or so. Last year I was harvesting tomatoes through December. Our first frost was around Christmas. We really had a weird season, but every season seems to be weird here in Texas, so you plan for growing year round. And if you're not able to do that, you bring it inside for a little bit. I have pepper plants in the garage. These tomatoes have been started inside, and right now my garden looks like nothing's growing because we had some freezes that went from 80 to 24 in about a week, and the plants don't like that and everything died, even the things that are supposed to last through that cold of temperatures. That's just the type of weather we're dealing with here. It is what it is. Right now we're super windy because another cold front's blowing through, and so in the background you'll see the wind blowing and the rain falling. Hopefully it's not too loud. These plants are growing very densely. This is not ideal. Ideally I would have separated these when they were yay big, just to give them a little more space to grow and have them not intermingle as much. What I'll be doing is putting them in these containers. I have a variety here. So I have these paper pots, which took a wine bottle, wrapped it around, and then just smashed the inside. You Can't Eat the Grass is a channel that they explained very detailed, several different videos how to do this, and they do thousands of these. I only need about 50 of these, so I don't quite have all of them made yet, but I have them start. We have old cups, milk jugs, apple juice containers, other red cups. This is the Parmesan cheese container. This is my coffee creamer container. So all of these make great sized tomato plant holders because they're nice and deep. So the shallowest I would go would be one of these 3-inch pots. Another thing about tomatoes, put these away before they blow away. Another thing about tomatoes is you want to plant them as deep as possible. And that's why I have these taller containers that I'm planting into. They have all these little hairs on the side of the plant, and these little hairs are meant to form roots whenever the vine touches the ground. So these are actually vines. I know that we grow them up as plants, but if you let them grow as they want to grow without any trellising, they actually grow more like a vine along the ground. So they want to grow like this actually. And then every place that the stem touches the ground and gets moist, you'll see a root form. Sometimes if you're just in a moist environment, you'll see roots forming in the air just off the edge of the plant. So what we're going to be doing is planting them as deep as possible. So I'll show you what this looks like. It's going to look pretty root bound. Now I've had to give these fertilizer. This is the worst looking of all of them. There's a little bit of nutrient deficiency in some of the leaves, and that's why I'm starting with this one. This has the most plants in the cup. I wasn't sure how old the seeds were, and so I put a bunch in. While I normally do 5, much more than 5 ended up sprouting, which is great. But now I just have extra. But that also, it caused the nutrients in this cup to deplete faster and the supplemental nutrients I fed them as a liquid fertilizer also was depleted faster. So this yellowing is a nutrient deficiency. Ideally, you have nice dark green leaves like this, but the variety also depends on what color it is. Additionally, the underside of the leaves are purple because I was growing them inside. There wasn't quite enough light, there wasn't quite enough nutrients in the cup. That's just a sign that it's not quite warm enough or nutrient sufficient enough for the plant, but it always overcomes that type of coloring. If the top of the leaves start getting purple, if it's not a purple tomato variety, then you might want to feed it something. So here's what we're dealing with. A very, very root-bound plant. Luckily, tomatoes are very hardy. I'll show you through the process how these do. So this is kind of the worst of it. So this is worst case scenario. You left it in the cup for an extra 2 weeks longer than you should have, like I did. And what I'm going to do is start at the bottom and just tease these roots apart. I don't have to be real gentle with it because tomatoes will form more roots. They're really good at forming roots. But if I can keep roots with the plant, I will. And what I'm going to do here is this is gonna look brutal and like I'm going to kill the plant. But I'm going to put my fingers in between where these two stems are and pull very gently. Not very gently, actually. I hear ripping. I hear the roots ripping and tearing. That is fine. So here, now I have a strip of tomato plants. I was freaked out the first time I did this, so this is why I'm going very slow, and some of y'all might be like, this is obvious, duh. But I was freaked out, so I don't want you to freak out. So now I'm gonna look at the next logical place to tear it, and I'm selecting in between here. Again, just putting all my fingers in where I want it to tear and just gently pulling apart. Now we have 2 clumps. So again, here's the next kind of logical clumping. There we go. And so, while you're doing this, determine how many plants you want. So I probably want 5 of this plant, so I don't need to save all of these stems. I don't need to separate this into 4 individual tomato plants. I'll probably, this actually looks pretty healthy, so I'll probably keep, well, we'll see what I do. The goal is 5. So this is the next logical separating. So again, gently pull, and the roots kind of tease apart like that. Just be gentle, try not to, the most fragile part of this plant is where the stem meets the root, the crown here. That's, if this breaks right there, that's where you might kill the plant. You can stick this in water if it does break, and you'll probably get some roots coming off of that, and then you stick that in dirt, but it's just not ideal. So we'll start with just putting it back in the same cup it was. Maybe you only wanted to grow 1 plant, you actually grew 5. I'm going to start with putting the entire plant all the way in. So there's nothing in this cup. I'm just putting the root system at the bottom. One more step I forgot is you don't have to, I've done it where I didn't take these leaves off, but ideally you don't have vegetation underneath the dirt. And so I take this, stick it under, all the way under, and I'm gonna throw some dirt in about halfway up, and then I tip it to the side so that the plant is roughly in the middle. Then I put dirt on the other side. This is just a potting soil mix that I mixed some compost in with. So there's some big clumps from the compost that break apart. So then this dirt's relatively dry. When I squeeze it, it doesn't clump, so I can pack it relatively tight. I fill it all the way up to the top and use my thumbs to press it down, and then fill in any additional. Leaving a little bit of room helps with watering, but it's not necessary. So that's how you single out this 1 plant into there. Now you might notice we still have 3 individual plants. This is always the hard part, determining which one's the best one, but we'll just do that and cut it off right at the bottom, right at the base. And now I have one tomato plant. Put the label back in, and I will water that. So this cup has holes at the bottom so water can drain out. But now those roots are down here, but all here through here will form new roots. And then when I put this out in the garden, I'll do the same idea where I'll take it out, roots will be formed all in the cup. I'll take it out, plant a much deeper hole, probably down to another 3 or 4 inches deeper than the dirt you would think you'd plant it, and put the tomato plant all the way down in the hole up to the first set of leaves. And then this nice rich set of roots will be all the way down at the bottom of the garden bed, where it stays moist much longer than at the top of the garden bed. And then the tomato plant can also form roots all the way from where the roots are all the way up to the surface of the soil, and access that water and nutrients in a much deeper part of the garden bed than if I just planted it an inch deep. So now I will go through and time lapse the rest of them. This isn't even half of them. So now I have 2 of my cups separated from multiple plants to 1 plant per container. The next step would just be to water it in. For these paper pots, I'll water from the top once, and then I'll just bottom water where you pour water in a container that they're sitting in. For the rest of these, I'll probably just do the same thing. I need to poke holes in my Whataburger cup. Otherwise, these are all good to go. These extra plants, so I had some that still have roots on them. These can go straight in soil. I don't need this many plants, but if you do, these ones without any roots, you can just stick them in a glass of water and they will sprout roots. Or you can stick them in seed starting or potting soil and just keep it very moist inside on a windowsill, and they'll also grow roots that way. So thank you for watching and enjoy your day. Happy planting.